Welcome to Becoming Full of Yourself, the show where fulfillment is not a finish line, it's a way of being. I'm Ebonie Allard, master coach, energy specialist, soul contract guide, here to help you remember who you were before the world told you who to be. In each episode, we explore what it means to lead from the inside out, embody your truth, and become so full of yourself that you overflow. Let's get into it. Sesh, I'm so happy to be having this conversation with you, and thank you for coming and joining me.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm very excited.
I'm excited. I love these conversations, particularly when I'm like, I could talk to you all day and we could stop and, we could go through every single topic, and I'm sure we could. And I actually wanted to focus on an aspect that I think that we have got in common in terms of it hasn't necessarily been easy, but there's now a level of mastery, and that has come from things being challenging. And often people wish that their lives were easy, and in so doing, they're wishing away the treasure. And that area is really around embodiment and bodies and exercise and body image and whatever we want to call it. But this like being in a physical body has not been easy or fun for me. And although our stories are different, I think we share something of that. Would that be fair?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is sometimes when I think about my body now, I have to remember that I have landed in it. A lot of the time, I don't think I believed that I landed in it, and there hasn't been much of I see you, Sesh, I see who you are, I see all of you. There's always been, I just see my eyes, or I just see my hair, or just see what's not there, not right. And very recently, I think after our time together at the retreat, I literally fell through the floor.
You did.
Did I remember there is so much of love and there's so much of me being seen by others. I've been pushing it away. And when I started seeing myself, I've been able to really see myself and be myself. And myself is pretty cool, but it took so long to get here.
Say that. You gave me your birth date so that I could sneak at your human design. And when you gave me it, I was like, I'm sorry, what? So it took me, like 10 years more or 9 years more than it took you to get to this place, because, there's 9 years between us, just for the record. And time is a really, more and more I'm like, I don't get it. It's fluid.
Yeah.
It's not linear, right? Like it makes no sense. And often the timing piece, we're like, oh, it took so long, but that doesn't really mean anything. Like ultimately there are layers of it, and there's always going to be more layers of it. And for me, I actually got the problem wrong for such a long time, right? The problem, as far as I was concerned, was my body was inappropriate or bad or wrong, and mostly not thin enough and the wrong shape, and was stopping me from having the life that I wanted. If I was smaller, if I was prettier, if I was whatever, then. And it was only when I changed how I perceived the problem and recognized that actually it's just that my insides and my outside didn't match, and that was causing me distress, that I was actually able to really change what was happening. Because then it became less about eat less and exercise more, which if I ever hear that again from anyone, it became less about that and about like proving that they were wrong and feeling stupid and like the whole world, like just so angry about the misunderstanding of what was happening into what are some ways that I can be with my body and or move or engage with this incredible gift of a vessel so that we get along and my insides and my outsides match.
Yeah. I love the way you say insides and outside match, because for the longest time, what was being reflected out from the outside was exactly what I felt on the inside. And I thought that it was untrue. I thought that what was happening was, okay, so I'll give you a little bit of context. My mom is a tiny human, like she's very small. And from the time I was like 8, I've always been her size and then bigger. So I would have always been way too big. And that stayed with me, and it manifested in different ways. It manifested in not eating. It manifested in eating and then binging and throwing up. It was all of those things in my teenage years. And even when I wasn't struggling with the eating and I was doing some exercise and just taking care of my body, doing the self-care pieces, what was still being reflected back to me was people were giving me their old clothes and I was taking it. Or, I have sister-in-laws. I don't actually speak too much now because boundaries and energetic space. But at the time, because I didn't have that level of love for myself, I was accepting their sort of hand-me-downs that never fit me. None of it fit me. It was always too small for me. And then I would get stuck in that shame spiral of, I'm never going to fit this. And I had an entire wardrobe of things that never fit me, and like 4 outfits that I would constantly wear over and over again. And after having my daughter, because she was my portal into full acceptance, like I can do whatever the fuck I want. Like I've got this. Having her and really owning that this body is so strong and this body can do very hard things. And whenever I speak about it, I feel the moment.
Yeah.
On that day when she came through, I was so scared that I'm going to teach another little girl not to respect her body and not to love her body, not to see herself and to see her magnificence. And I was so afraid. And when she came through, in that moment, I was in the void and I was dancing with Goddess. And when I see her now, she just started school last week. When I see her now, she is so embodied. She's so herself. And it's because of choices that I made from noticing you don't have to be anything but you, Sesh. You're accepted and you're whole and you're loved as you are. People love you. You get to love you too. And when I see her, I know for sure that the work is being done because she's everything that I could have been when I was a little girl.
Yeah, I mean, I have so much love for every single one of us who are changing the narrative, right? Changing the legacy, changing the field around what it means to be a woman and how we get to do that and what beauty is. And, again, so much of my life I pushed away beauty because beauty was shallow or frivolous, or you paid money for it, or it was surface level, or there was lots of these things where it's like, well, if you're interested in, I don't know where the narrative comes from, and I've never really articulated it as something I believed because I don't think I believed it consciously. But essentially, one of the narratives that we receive as little girls is you can be pretty or you can be clever. And me, the message I did know I had was I am too much. And one of the ways I am too much is that you can't possibly be beautiful and clever. So fucking pick one. And I can't help but be clever, right? Like it's too much work to dumb myself down. So I'll just not be beautiful because that's easier. And again, not conscious, right? And then the pain that comes with that and the thoughts that harden, through our actions into character, we then become it. And there's a lot of undoing. And I really think it's like how we then use our energy and be ourselves that leads to our behavior and our movement, which then hardens into, you know, who we are and what we do and how the world meets us. And for me, stopping exercising and starting moving my body changed everything for me. Because it turns out I do hate exercise. I will always hate exercise. I think exercise is a fucking waste of time and it makes me angry.
I mean, the word exercise means work in school. Like, here's exercise number 1. Go do the work.
But everything about it, right? And it also means do it a particular way, do it my way. You can be wrong, you can be right. Also, you're not good at it because you need to practice it, right? Like all of these things. Nothing about exercise do I enjoy. However, I think back to and I remember back to being a kid, I never stopped moving.
Yeah.
I would dance, I would swing, I would make up games, I would get a stick and ride a horse, I would jump over things and climb stuff, and movement's never been a problem, right?
You know, when you think about the natural ways of moving and how, like, when I was little, much like you, I used to love skipping. Like, I was obsessed with skipping. I would get really obsessive with it. I loved my bike. I loved going with my dog to the local, like, football ground and just being. And it felt normal. There was no need. There was nothing extra. And I actually remember the moment when the word exercise became a thing. And it had nothing to do with me. I think I was about 16 or 17, and a friend of mine was like, "Oh, I'm on the treadmill every morning because I don't like this roll on my belly." And I'm like, "What's a belly roll?" I went to a very spiritual school. So, like, you know, it was a combination of normal schooling and all the spiritual stuff that I am and do and be right now.
Yeah.
And one of my friends was that she was very focused on her belly because she had a lot more access to TV than I did. And 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 then I started hearing treadmills. I heard weights. I heard people trying to lose weight. And I was like, okay, this started waking me up to you're not good enough unless you're doing these things and unless you look a certain way. And before that, life was just movement and dance. I danced and played a lot. And every time I go into, I have to exercise, it feels so misaligned. It doesn't feel like me.
Yeah. I want to move into a quantum flow and what that is for those who don't know, where it comes from, where it came from, or how your journey with it. And it's interesting because I also had a very different childhood, very spiritual Steiner school education, no TV in the house for a long time. And I feel like there's something, just as you were speaking, then I was like, all right, I feel like there's something about being raised in an environment that makes you very porous.
Yes.
And then being given this programming tool. We are so susceptible because I was so much more susceptible to it than anyone else around me. And I just wanted to add that in because I hadn't made that connection until you shared that.
The kind of upbringing that I had, very similar to you, it was very focused on, and again, this weekend tied all of it together. This conversation's happening at the perfect time.
Yeah.
But it started off with, I was that kid that would sing loud. Like, we have like festivals back home. I'm South African. I'm from a South African Indian community. So all the things from India, when the indentured laborers came up to South Africa, like they brought whatever, traditions and rituals they could. And I'm from that group of people. And, things like singing very loudly, singing for a crowd, being at festivals and prayers and things was very big for me. It was part of my life. It was it was normal to me. And there's always moments in time where somebody outside my circle looked at me, and because I wasn't in alignment or because I wasn't enjoying myself, or when you're a teenager, you slightly question yourself, even a little bit. There's a look. There was a look, and then there's all the stories that get formed and made. And because we're so involved in how we are and in our upbringing, something different is definitely going to change the way we move because it's different. It's completely different. And I think part of us as human beings desires to experience the difference in things. So we go there. I went there very quickly. And I've been there for the last 16 years. So I got into quantum flow after, it happened in COVID times. So 2020, my daughter was born in May, and she was about 6 weeks old, and we discovered Juan Pablo Barahona. He is the creator of quantum flow, and somehow we found him, and we thought, oh, we'll do this session, just because this was like, before the time of many masterclasses being in your space, and we really liked it.
Even then, right? That was 2020. I started working with Regan and doing quantum with Wampa in 2017. So so it's been around a while, and even then, like, anyway, these things evolve time again. Yes. It's weird.
The reason we did it, because it was like three in the morning, the baby wasn't sleeping, so we're like, let's just do it. It was Costa Rica time, so we did it. And I saw my husband cry for the first time that day. Never saw him cry before. He's very funny. He's got beautiful, like, vibrant, happy energy. He's the kind of person you want around to be your cheerleader. I've never seen him cry, ever. And then he cried, and I was like, whoa, if that could make Donovan cry. Like, what is this? And then we applied to do it. He's also a quantum flow practitioner. I applied for the scholarship, and I got the scholarship to do it. And we both studied it together. And while we were doing it, like, got into cacao as well. But what happened with quantum flow is it was changing us as individuals. And it was helping us shed layers that, like, the heavy layers, like the first coat that you take off when you go back into a warm room. It was like that. It was like shedding heavy layers. And so by the time we completed studying quantum flow, got qualified, my aim at that point, because I wasn't working in this world, was to do it for teachers, because I was a coach for teachers. Did it for some teachers. They had massive release as well. And I'm like, okay, this is cool. I really like it. But what was happening underneath all of this was quantum flow was becoming a sort of channel and a gateway for the thing I used to do when I was a kid. For the connection with Mother and the divine goddess and Mother Kali that I had when I was a child, because she moves like this. She stomps, she draws, she does all these things. It is who she is. And so, not knowing it, as I started doing quantum flow, and I've done over like 700 sessions by now, the deeper I go with this, the more I find myself. The more I find this connection with a very old ancestral version of me. Very wise, powerful, supportive version of me. And each layer, each time I hold a session, as I'm helping others, I remember that I'm also part of this collective as we do it together. We're doing it as a team. Collective power is powerful when we intentionally use the space. So it's evolved. It's become something that's like an obsession for me. And it started off, like, when I started working on Susie's team, it was just a weekly quantum flow in 2021, like from the beginning of that year. I was really scared and then just started doing it. And then since then, I've still got people coming every week to do it. And then my husband started his business, and he was like, come and help me. And I needed a space to be with people, because COVID kind of messed me up. I was shielding, so I had to be home. I couldn't be around people. And then when he opened his business and I started doing it in front of people, in community with human beings, and feeling the energy, it was like, oh,
yeah.
That was part of coming home to me.
It's fascinating to me, because so many things. So my dad was one of the very first 5 rhythms teachers. I grew up with this stuff, right? I grew up, my mum was a yoga teacher. She was into Feldenkrais. Dad was friends with Gabrielle Roth. I started, he came and taught a weekly class in London. So from the age of 17, which again, it was like full of people that were my dad's people that were paying him to go to class, right? So I was so self-conscious, and yet, because of how I've been brought up, and because of all of it, I danced what was five rhythms then, and then every iteration of kind of movement medicine or ecstatic dance, or all of these different things, right? And I used to, when he trained and when he did his teacher training in the 90s, I would be there with him, like understanding the rhythms and moving with each one, and making playlists and sorting out actual CDs on the floor, right? So it's been around me all the time, but there's always been this, I'm too ahead of my time, I'm too weak, no, the world isn't ready for this, blah, blah, blah. And now it is, and now everyone's embracing it. There's a part of me that's still really stuck in that, like, but you bullied me for this, and now people are being paid thousands. Like, I don't understand. Like, and there's a real thing in that, which is interesting to observe. And I think that what's really special about when we allow ourselves to let go of the stories and be with the work, however it's coming through, or the energy, right? Like, we are evolving as a species right now, and the energy is moving very, very quickly, and we're in this very interesting time where we get to inform the culture and how, like, we are dreaming New Earth into being. We are not just dreaming it, but we're the energy we create, the way that we relate to one another, the stories that we tell, the field that we hold is what creates the future. And like you say, that energy is it has a life of its own, and it wants to grow, it wants to evolve, and it's like we're stewards for it at this point.
Yeah. One of the beliefs I had in my early years of being a coach that actually held me back from being the kind of coach that I am now is I'm too young. I'm too young for this. Everyone else on the team is like 10 years older than me. They've got way more experience. They've been in business longer. And only recently, after I started training the students, did I realize there's a reason why we go through things in the way we do, in the timelines that we do, because there's potent learning that is only available for us. And like it's a gift given to us so that we can learn about ourselves and about others, and our ability to support them through our experiences. Like there's no duplicate experiences. We have similar experiences, but like even the energy of it, I can feel how me 16 years ago, when all of this learning, I feel like I've been in a portal of learning for like sleeping, just trying to go up the mountain.
Yeah.
But in this entire portal, the only thing that I come out of it with, the strongest thing that I come out of it with, is everything was meant for you to learn so that you can have your voice, that you can be you, because you is enough and special.
Yeah. Yeah, I really, really get that. And again, steer the conversation and say because it leads in so beautifully. I'm so autodidactic. I'm ever learning, ever growing. I don't think I'll ever be done. And I've been aware of and looking at and had astrology in my world again my whole life. And yet I got to a place with it and went, I can't go any further because, and had whole limits around it, right? And more recently I was like, I'm going to meet those limits, right? Okay, I don't do numbers and angles, so learn, right? Like, so you love to learn, like, go in. So I went in further with it. And this realization that I've had over the last year is my son is in the 8th house. The 8th house is of sacred secrets and the taboo, and like it has the intensity of almost being Scorpio vibes because it's 8th house, right? And there's this thing of like, and it's all about evolving and growing and bringing forth and transmuting. It's like, well, that I can hate on it, or I can just meet myself where I'm at and be like, yes, that is me, that is who I am. And I actually, one of the things that I have mastery of is initiation and transmutation, because I've had about 44, maybe more, right? Like, in the same way as I've moved house 1,000 times and moved countries 1,000 times, I've also been millions and millions of versions of myself and been shedding skin and changing my body and like all of these things so many times. But we never know when we're going to get the aha about why life has been the way it is. And there are some things where I'm still like, why about, which at some point will land and I'll be like, oh, thanks. You know. And so one of those things is there's a lot of, whenever people talk about femininity or being a woman, what comes up is often around strength. And I do want to talk about Carly, and I do want to talk about that energy, but I almost feel like I can't without looking at the other end, because for me, there are limits to how big I would let myself get. And, you know, I still don't get, I'm not a very angry person, I'm not a very loud person, but I have a level of intensity, and I always have, and I'm very comfortable with that. For me, the bit that has been my kind of nemesis has been the other side of femininity, of softness and being, right? Like, a lot of women need to learn that they are strong and that they can do it. That's never been my problem. I arrived, 12 weeks premature, weighing 3 pounds. I've known from the get-go, I am strong and I can do it. I have had a lot of work to do around, I don't have to be strong. I can be soft. I can be nurtured. I can be looked after. So I kind of want to talk about polarity and using like movement and quantum flow and this energy work to be with these different energies and these different parts of ourselves. Because I don't think it is binary. I don't think it is just about, we need to all learn how to really embrace Carly. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. In that, there are many faces of goddess. And so when we move with quantum flow, specifically with quantum flow, it is a combination of divine masculine, divine feminine play. And the contraction of the body or the muscles, the squeezing, the holding of the breath, that's all the masculine creating the container. And then you also got the flow and the play and the messiness in the femininity. And there is not much of the squeezing, the intensity in that, but it is still powerful. And how I learned that through the movement and through the embodiment work was more of, it was a question that I kept asking, is, can I be powerful in all parts of me? Can I be aligned with all parts of me and know that even in being soft, being wife, being Lakshmi, that is the softer version of, or a softer face of mother, or a softer face of goddess. Like, there's still power and potency in her. She just has a different job. And the understanding through all of this, for me, like the duality of it, came from more my relationship with my husband. So we've been together for about 16 years. We met when we were very young. And we've had to grow up together. And we've had to face a lot of things along the way to get to here. And most of the time, it's been me pushing, leading, masculine. That's all I've known, because in my upbringing as well, there's had to be a lot of that kind of leadership from me. And then through the quantum flow, through the crying and the softening and the dropping and the messiness and allowing myself to be, what I've realized is I've been holding him back from being the divine masculine he gets to be, because I wasn't letting him, and I wasn't letting me accept that I'm allowed that. I'm allowed to cry. I'm allowed to fall to my knees. I'm allowed to need help. I'm allowed to be held and seen in the messiness as beautiful and perfect. I always thought, until he tells me I'm beautiful, I'm going to be beautiful. But it ended up being, Sesh, you got to see yourself. You got to soften to you. Like, I can ask and demand for him to do those things, but until I softened to myself and started really seeing me, this only came through the movement. You can't think this. You can't think through this.
No, and I think, there's so much of, in in this world, in this industry that we're in. And I wrote a ranty piece earlier today. I have shared it or will share it about how I don't want this to be an industry. Like, could we stop this thing that is my life, my world, my art, and is humanity? It's not an industry. Can we stop industrializing it? And part of the bit that I get really angry with, but also I have love for, is the embodiment movement, right? The fact that embodiment is even a word, that you can search for it and you can get embodiment exercises, like all of these, again, right? Like, they're making it work. People are making this thing that just means, am I present with my body, letting it do what it does? And it's that thing of like, my clients will all be rolling their eyes because I say there's nothing to do, everything to be. Stop trying to do it. Stop trying to do it. It's not a performance. It doesn't have to be any conscious perception. Just take the prefrontal cortex away, let the body be, and it will be, it will do it. Right? Yeah.
There's a lot of opportunity when we play with the body, when we move, when we dance. There's a lot of opportunity to get away from the head, where we are telling ourselves things need to be a certain way, or we're telling ourselves that we have to work really hard, or we have to do so many exercises, have to eat so many less calories, like all of those things. If you get away from it and you just come back to what we're trying to change the body without asking the body.
And ultimately it's all control. That's what and trust me when I tell you, I thought I had dealt with my control issues, and there's more and more and more and more, right? Like,
there's always more.
I thought, like, not counting and being in charge of everything that entered my body, or like where all my stuff was, or how much, there's been different levels of control in my world over my years, and some of them have been more visible than others. And I remember a moment at a yoga class where I realized that one could not always take themselves to the edge. Like, one could not, I can't really explain it, but it's like, it had never occurred to me that you could show up less than 110%.
I mean, the whole world needs us to be 110%. We have to all the time.
This is the thing. If everything is 110% all of the time, I get no longer, like, I'm overstimulated constantly, and I can't see, feel, taste, touch any of it anymore because it's all so overstimulating. And as somebody who has a gate, my son is in gate 56, which is known as the wandering storyteller, but under that is the gate of stimulation. And this big, like, oh, for me was, if we are attuning ourselves to only experiencing big, vibrant, full-on feelings all of the time, using a vibrator, eating things that are like salty or sugary or like vinegary or like big everything, we've lost so much range. And that actually the good stuff, the stuff that they don't want you to have, is all the really, like, the subtlety. I remember the time I fasted for 14 days and then ate a piece of pineapple and was like, right, like, oh my God. And that for me is the point. Like, that's alchemy. We get to choose our state by playing with the whole box.
Yeah. Alchemy is like, each one of us experiences it differently. And when we give ourselves the opportunity to play, and we give ourselves the opportunity to explore, each of us does it in a different way. Like, we come to presence in a completely different way, and it's ours. And when we stop trying to be like others and stop trying to learn any structured process and just be ourselves, just be with it, whilst it may look different for all of us, we are most powerful in those moments. And I think, when you try to show up as 110%, that's actually minus 10%. 110% is exactly who you are in that moment. and messy and complete as perfect. And you know, coming from an Indian background, it is hard not to be perfect. You're either a teacher, a lawyer, or an engineer or something. And even when I left teaching to do coaching and to do the healing work, it was like, what are you doing? But you get to this point where you're like, I can't break my heart anymore by doing this. And every time I make a choice like this, to just allow myself to just be, to just allow myself to experience life, even in the mess and even in the stress and all of the things, and just be in it and observe it, the more I physically feel my heart opening. It hurts sometimes, it actually physically hurts. But I can feel my heart opening to myself. And the thing that started this was quantum flow. It was moving messily. Like when we do the quantum flow, I feel like a rebel. I feel like you don't have to do anything perfectly. You just get to play. We just get to play and be the kids that we were meant to be, like just the free beings that we were supposed to be all along. And we just get to do it together.
Yeah.
And it feels like a, you know, like a big F you to all of the things that told me you have to be structured, you have to have this, you have to have this degree, you got to have this job, you got to work in, you know, in a public school. All of these things, in those moments when you're so connected with your body and you're dancing and you're stopping and you're shouting and you're playing and you're messy and you're soft and you're letting yourself be and lean back, none of that matters.
No, and I think having a place and a time and a structure around practicing, and it is a practice, right? To be messy, or it is a practice to lose control, or it is a practice to look silly in front of other people, or it is a practice, and like everyone has their edge and everyone's coming with something different. And I really remember, because so for such a long time, that place for me was yoga classes, and it's funny because I don't go to any anymore at all, but I still really remember my edge, like actual rebellion for me, was stopping and lying in shavasana and allowing the thoughts of, she's going to take it personally, she's going to think her class is terrible, how do I let her know that this is about me and not her? What if people are going to think I'm weird for paying to be somewhere but not actually doing the class? Like, so much noise. Right? And then are you enjoying yourself? If you wanted to lie on the floor and to be into a shavasana and to like actually just receive and around people that are moving and to feel that kinetic energy and enjoy it, stop. Like, make your brain stop so that you can actually enjoy your own experience. Because the first bit is to like, okay, I'm going to make a firm decision. I'm going to do this thing that's different and that is, makes me an outlier. But then I'm not going to enjoy it because
Yep. The rebellion against the rebellion. Like, you know, every time good things happen, I feel like sometimes, like a book that I absolutely adore is Existential Kink. And I've learned a lot about it from playing with the shadow and understanding why we do these things to ourselves. And every time something big has happened, any growth, anything, like a good example at the retreat, that was growth for me. 5 days of quantum flow live with everybody moving, stomping, working in the energy, being priestess was brilliant. And then I went through the floor. And again, it was like when you have a moment like that, much like, on the floor, having all of the thoughts move through, like you get to choose in that moment which direction you want to go in. And that day I chose love instead of embarrassment, which was, I mean, shame is a big thing, a big theme. And so choosing love is like, okay, that's new. But then all the thoughts that follow in that direction is like, it's completely different. And different is scary.
Yeah, and our brains often dismiss evidence because it's not perfect. right?
Yeah.
Or it's not exactly. For example, and we'll wrap up. I had a moment last night where I have put a boundary in a relationship that I know is for the best, is the adult thing to do, and it hurts and it doesn't feel good.
Mm.
And so there's a childish bit of my brain that wants to be in a kind of woe is me space and feel like it's not fair, and why did you do this to me? It was fine, I would have stayed there, right? All of that sort of stuff going on. So I was in bed last night and like having a moment of listening to my inner whininess, and 5 different girlfriends, all pretty much within 10 minutes, messaged me to say, hey, I was just thinking about you and I love you. I just want you to know that you are loved. And in that moment, my brain went, but not in the right way and not by the right person.
Mm.
No, I'm not. Go away, right? And in the next moment, it's like, okay, you asked for love. You've held a boundary. There is so much love pouring to you right now. Will you receive it? Or will you go, but it's not perfect, so I'm going to push it away. It's not what I want, right? And I, spoiler alert, I received it, and really like, otherwise I wouldn't be able to tell the story, because there is those moments of like, what if I stopped trying to control how the thing shows up? I've been practicing surrender, by the way, for like 5 years. Someone wrote the other day, surrender and enjoy it. And again, I had this like mind blown moment of, hang on, that's where I've been doing it wrong. I've been surrendered, but I've been like, I'm surrendering. Am I there yet? Am I done? Have I won? Have I passed? I've been surrendering for 5 years. Versus, can you surrender and enjoy it? And the enjoyment bit is a choice, right? Like, again, like letting it in, letting it not be shame, letting it be love, letting yourself be seen in embarrassment and laughing with, rather than going, everyone's going to be laughing at me. All of those tiny micro choices are what empowerment and embodiment and full self-expression in action are to me.
I think those micro choices are much more powerful and last longer or embed better than the years of choosing differently or choosing the other way. And it's because it's so different, and because the body is like, whoa, what's going on? The brain's like, that's different. Everything is having a major shift. We're allowing ourselves to rewire in the moment that, I mean, it's okay. It's really okay. It's better than okay.
Yeah.
And sometimes when that happens for me, it's more of you get to be happy, Sesh. It's okay to be happy. You don't have to struggle and suffer. Like, literally had to have ancestors visit me to tell me, you're done enough, girl. Chill. We want to see you happy.
Yeah. Like I said, we could talk forever, and
I know, right?
and I'm looking forward to seeing you in real life soon and continuing the
Me
conversation.
too.
If people want to come and try some content themselves, if they want to find out more about you and come and work and do all the things, where's the best place for them to come and hang out?
You find me on Instagram. It's coach_sesh on Instagram. And I mean, you could also find me on Susie Ashworth's space, because I work for her. And I do quantum flow in her membership, which is also a nice place to come and join me live and online if you want to. But yeah, find me, have a conversation with me, and connect, because the more we talk about all of these things, the more we talk about how the body is so fucking special and incredible, more people feel that energy as well. Like, 1 person, 2 people, all the people.
Yeah, and I think step 1 of that initiation is that conversation, right? It's like, can't talk to her because or she was on someone's podcast, or she works for Susie. Do you know, like all of those things that we
Talk to me.
well, and not just you, like people do it to me all the time, right? They're like, I really wanted to speak to you, but you seemed so scary. I'm like, I'm really not, right? That's your perception.
Yes.
Just send a message. If you want, but it's so, again, micro actions, right? Like we
Yeah.
hold ourselves off from the life that we want, and we tell ourselves it's a big thing. And
Yes.
actually it's often those tiny little, just send the message, pick up the phone, say yes, you know, that will change our lives.
That is literally how I got this job and left a tenured career teaching. Tiny second, like 3-second decision. I'm done. Life changing. So yeah, find me, talk to me.
Thank you so much. It's been just always
Okay.
such an honor and beautiful to have these conversations. And more I feel like I'm just having these conversations for me. And I used to hold perfect podcasting sessions and feel like, yes, I have delivered something really good for my audience. And now I'm just like, I have no idea whether this will do anything for anyone. So if you're listening, let me know, because it helps affirm me. But I am having the best conversations ever. I'm really, really enjoying it. So thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been an absolute joy.
Thank you for tuning in to Becoming Full of Yourself. If you found resonance here, subscribe, share it with someone who's ready to reclaim their fullness, and leave a review to help others find this work. For more resources, rituals, real talk on living a fully fulfilled life, head to ebonieallard.com. Until next time, be bold, be brave, be full of yourself.